This is Secret America with your hosts, Jack Danger and James Clary.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jack Danger along with James Clary. And James, the number one thing on everybody's minds is where are these Epstein files? As you know, Pam Bondi had promised the release of the files. She said, the things that he did were sick. She said that, it's going to be shocking. And then all of a sudden, the files that were released, first of all, it was done in a horrible way, as you know. It was given to a select few gatekeepers, if you will, who got binders that said phase 1 for some reason, even though it was supposed to be all the files. And then all of a sudden, the night before, she had them on her desk for a week, right? And the night before, she says she gets some kind of, feeling, and then someone tells her that it's not all the files. Apparently, there are thousands more pages. But what ended up being released was the same exact files that have already been made public, except one caveat. Some of the files that they released were redacted, whereas the files that were already public were not redacted, James. And there has been a lot of uproar, not just about how this was, released, how it was handled, but about what was released, especially when she tried to do the damage control with, the FBI is holding things back. You have till 8 a.m. deadline. That was over 24 hours ago, and still nothing has happened. A lot of people are pissed off, James. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, this is a complicated story. I listened to Liz Churchill. I'm sure you follow Liz Churchill. I think she works for Glenn Beck and the Blaze. Liz Churchill, along with Jack Posobiec and a couple others, were some of the people that were invited into the room. They actually met with the president. They met the vice president briefly. And then they were ushered into a room and with Pam Bondi. And now this is the story. And there's been so much reporting on this. Megyn Kelly did a big piece on it and she got it wrong. So this is according to Liz, and I'm going to take her word for it because I think she's an honest broker, A, and B, she was in the room. So first of all, realize that the mainstream media people were not invited to this meeting. It was only some social media influencers, like I mentioned, the two, Jack Posobiec and Liz Churchill. So what Liz said is when they walked into the room and the binders are on the desk, Pam Bondi immediately said, look, this is not what I expected. These are not the unredacted complete release. It's a joke. I am really angry, but I'm going to give them to you anyway, but we are going to demand the full files. And this, by the way, this is all coming from the Southern District of New York. Remember, the raid on Epstein's house was his townhouse. I think it was in Brooklyn, but it was definitely in New York. So it's the Southern District of New York, the attorney's office that handles this, and they do answer to Pam Bondi. So what they did, she sent out this order, and I don't know if you can share my screen on my computer, but it doesn't matter. I've got pictures that the FBI posted immediately after that raid. Everyone keeps saying documents and list. It's not a list, Jack. The only list are like his contacts. Well, I've got people in my contacts that I know one for a fact served 5 years in prison. That means nothing. It's the video files and the hard drives. I've got pictures of a box that has at least 30 hard drives. Think how much data is on those hard drives. Remember, Epstein had video cameras in every room in every house, not just the Brooklyn mansion, but on Epstein's island. He had video cameras. So we don't need a list. We don't need documents. We need the videotapes and the hard drives, because that is what's going to show the illegal acts by very powerful people. And I'm going to name a couple of them. Bill Gates is at the top of the list, Bill Clinton, and there were many others that worked for the high up in the Democrat Party and Republican. And that's why you're seeing this runaround. Look, these videotapes and these hard drives could literally topple the deep state cabal, Jack. I mean, it would bring it down. It's not a matter of lists. And I want our audience to be aware of that. Stop saying lists, stop saying documents, start saying we want the contents of the hard drives and the videotapes, because that's what it is. Now, obviously, they can't release videotapes of an underage girl having sex with Bill Gates, right? I mean, you can't do that because you have to protect the victim. So here's the deal. Pam Bondi did screw this up. The Trump administration screwed this up. It was a major foul. But let me just finish this real quick. So Liz Churchill says, as they got the documents and they were ushered out of the White House quickly because Trump was going into a meeting with the UK Prime Minister Starmer, they said, hey, we got to get you out of here. So when they came out of the White House, they were ambushed by a bunch of mainstream reporters. Like, what are you guys doing in there? That's the picture where she held up the documents that she was given. There was never an opportunity for her, Liz Churchill, to say, look, Pam Bondi already said this is a nothing burger. There's nothing in here. But Churchill was kind of gloating. She admitted it, that they had been allowed access to a meeting that the mainstream media was not. So that's the story.
Well, I think what people have a problem with is, one, Pam Bondi had these files on her desk for over a week, 200 pages. And I mean, this is a massive investigation. You've got to think there are more than 200 pages of evidence when there are thousands and thousands of pages for, investigations that take a couple of days. So that's the first thing I think that bothered everybody. And another thing, when these people were coming out, say these people had I don't know if you saw this, James, but when they came out, they started dancing for a video camera. You can see the video. They're doing, I don't know if they're doing the cha-cha or the hokey pokey, but they start, putting their arms around each other and, doing the kick leg dance like the old Russian dance. You can actually see them holding the binders and dancing. So you should check out that video if you get a chance.
I did, and I commented on that. What I said was that Liz Churchill claims that they came out and they were rubbing it in the faces of the ABCs, the NBCs, that they had been allowed in the meeting. And in hindsight, she said it was stupid. We shouldn't have acted jubilant because we knew we had a nothing burger.
Yeah, it was extremely stupid, and I think mostly they were kind of I mean, sure, you're going to say that as damage control, but I kind of think that it had to do with reveling in the fact that they were the ones that were chosen to come be the
that's
people
what I
that
just
received
said.
this binder. Yeah,
that's what
you said. Rubbing it in the face. I didn't mean rubbing. I didn't mean chosen. I didn't mean like rubbing it in the face of ABC and NBC. I'm talking about in terms of all the other influencers. We were the ones that were chosen over you influencers, not necessarily. I mean, obviously the media too.
I get it. Yeah,
but it was just handled poorly. And then the fact that the 8 a.m. deadline went by and there is no raid, there is no firing, there is nothing. They raided Donald Trump's house for nothing, but yet they're not even. If I'm Pam Bondi, to gain a little respect back, there were a lot of calls for her resignation, which I think is a little extreme. But to gain a little respect back, you need to go in there and you need to start firing people. One, I would say immediately would be James Comey's daughter. I mean, this is the woman that, I think her name's like Mary Comey or Marie Comey or something, but this is the woman that oversaw the Epstein prosecution. She oversaw the Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution, and she is overseeing the Diddy prosecution, all three of which have had every level of evidence suppressed to where it doesn't hurt a single person. She's in there, and then it boggles my mind how that can be the case when you have the head of the FBI who, if say you want to keep things secret, right? You're the head of the FBI. How does this person get magically assigned the three biggest, child sex trafficking cases perhaps in history, especially the most high profile? It all reeks of dirtiness. And now, I love Trump. It's got nothing to do with Trump. For me, though, I think Pam Bondi, I don't think she did it on purpose. I think she's in over her head, really. Now, Florida Attorney General is one thing, but to be the Attorney General of the entire United States, you are under a microscope like you've never seen before. So you've got to work some kind of, 8 a.m., they defied your deadline again. Okay, here it is over 24 hours later, nothing has happened. You haven't even put out a statement saying they didn't get us the files. All you did was we're opening an investigation. And people are tired of just firings, okay? That's all we've been getting is firings. Nothing will ever stop until people are actually prosecuted, James.
Yeah, I agree. But look, let's step back for a minute. You cannot, these investigations, for instance, the people that investigated Epstein, although I don't, I think it was a mismanaged and probably some kind of sham fake investigation, but even that took years. There's no way. Now, I agree. They should have done, just to save face, a show of force and literally send armed SWAT members under the direction of Cash and Pam Bondi to the Southern District of New York's office because that's where the videotapes and the hard drives are kept. Once again, it's not about documents, folks. It's about videotapes and hard drives. They should have shut that office down. Look, that we're in the middle of a civil war. You got to understand. Okay, Pam Bondi is anointed and appointed AG. Kash Patel is appointed as director of the FBI. But look, every director, and I did some research on this, Jack, every director of the FBI, the past 10 or whatever, have been totally compromised by the Bureau itself. These people don't listen to the director. You're crazy if you think, look, they out flat said, we're not going to give you this. We're not going to do it. So I don't know. What is the answer? Do they go in there and shoot those people? Of course not. Do they go in there with an armed team and arrest those people for obstruction? Yeah, perhaps. But I know there's emergency meetings going on right now. This is a huge crisis. A crisis
It really
of
is.
confidence. Yeah, for the Trump administration. They're trying to figure out how to do this. And I think, give them a few days. There's going to be some serious stuff coming down the line. And I mean, we can project out, Jack. I guarantee you there will be prosecutions. There will be people going to jail by the end of this administration. I promise you that.
I mean, yeah, maybe by the end of the administration. But see, for stuff like this to stop happening, they've got to go in there. They have got, I mean, when you're the head of the FBI, you can go in there. You can go into these people's offices, take people with you, and search everywhere in the FBI and in the SDNY prosecutor's office and all these things. I mean, they didn't even so much as put out a statement saying, hey, the deadline's passed. We've done this, and this. They've done, I mean, it has been crickets, radio silence on all channels. And everybody always wants to give the benefit of the doubt. I want to give the benefit of the doubt, and then after another deadline passes or after an investigation starts, it's always give these people the benefit of the doubt. But at some point, you've got to start doubting. And I just think that, I never knew enough about Pam Bondi, and I'll be honest with you. After the things that I've seen recently, let's even forget about the Epstein file debacle. The things that I've seen recently, like her being in favor of what is basically a red flag law. I don't know if we talked about this on the last show. We may have, where she
did not.
Okay, what happens is, so there's a video out now where she was talking to Donald Trump and she was trying to get this thing passed where, so you will be, if you're on a hold, like an involuntary commitment hold for 24 hours or whatever, the police can raid your house and take your guns. And the thing is, you know how easy it is to get somebody involuntarily committed by saying, hey, this person's a danger to themselves or others. That's all you got to do, because then they'll commit you for 24 hours, realize that you're not actually a danger to yourself or others, and then they will actually let you go. But by then, the police can take your guns. That's it. It's basically a red flag law where, my neighbor says, hey, this guy, I've seen this guy do this. He's a danger to himself and others. They come and take him away for 24 hours. By the time they realize he's not, his guns are gone and he never sees them again. And that really worried me when I saw that Pam Bondi was in favor of something like that. And that really, it made me view her through a different lens. So maybe that's why I'm a little more skeptical. But it also, when you've had the files on your desk for a week, you think it's only 200 pages out of one of the most massive investigations in history. It's mind-boggling. It's either mind-boggling ineptitude and incompetence, or it's something more sinister, James. At least that's my personal opinion.
No, and I don't disagree. Well, let me put it this way: I'm probably a little more lax. I'm going to be a little more lenient. I do believe they are in the middle of crisis management meeting right now. And I think you're going to see a statement come out by Monday. This is my prediction, explaining exactly what happened, that she requested that all of these materials, I'm going to call them materials because they're not just documents, like I've said many times. All of these materials were requested in the Southern District of New York. They failed to comply with a direct request from their superior, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and that there's going to be serious repercussions for that. I guarantee you there's going to be firings in that office. Now look, here's another aspect. Whistleblowers called in, contacted Pam Bondi's office and Kash Patel's office weeks ago, 10 days ago, saying they are destroying evidence. Jack, this evidence may be gone. I've got pictures. Maybe you can share them later, but it doesn't matter. Pictures of boxes and boxes and literally pallets of information, and a lot of it are CDs and hard drives. So these are where the videos are. And that's what we need released. Now, she can't release, like I said, you can't release the videos to the public. But what you could do is release a transcript that shows the names. Here's Bill Gates engaged with victim A and black out the victim's face, black out the nudity, whatever. You know, they're going to do something. I think they're in crisis management. I do think that we'll see something by Monday. And Jack, if we don't, I'm going to be totally on your side. And I will call for her resignation if we don't see something in the next, let's say, 72 hours.
And, you know, I completely agree. And I'm not calling for a resignation yet. I'm willing to wait till Monday to see what happens. But I will say that if anybody that thinks these files and stuff weren't already destroyed right before, you know, Biden left office, you know, they're not thinking clearly because, you know, yeah, you might have your own personal copies so you can continue to blackmail people. But just after this, I'm sure everybody that they've tried to blackmail, they already have shown them the evidence they have against them. So now just the threat of blackmail is enough. You don't actually need the evidence, which implicates you if you have it now. If you have the evidence, you are now implicated. And how I can tell you that I guarantee that these things have been destroyed. Actually, first, let me say, though, another thing that really bothered everybody, though, is that these files, these 200 and some pages that she released are exactly what has already been out there in the public. These things were already released via court filings and other things, but it doesn't stop there. She redacted some of the information on there that is actually public, not redacted on the publicly released ones already. She took pages that are exactly the same as the publicly released ones, redacted information like, you know, like Bill Gates' address or whatever it is, and then put it out there, even though it's not redacted on the already publicly released ones. So that's, to me, that's very sketchy. But I will say that how I know that these things were destroyed is because there's a rumor going around, and this is still unconfirmed as of yet, but it's very new, okay? What happened was apparently Pete Hegseth is getting ready to fire some generals, you know, from the Pentagon. And what happened when these generals were actually caught at 3 a.m. by Kash Patel's FBI, shredding and destroying documents and evidence, and they were arrested. And this was all set up by Pete Hegseth for them to be arrested. Now,
that did not happen.
How do you know?
Because I've scoured the internet. This is a rumor. I can even show you the Twitter account that started that rumor.
I've seen multiple different things where they've talked about it.
No, people keep reposting the same bullshit. There's a bunch of things, and I'm going to push back hard on this because it makes our side look like idiots when we post things that there's no confirmation. So the rumor was on Twitter.
Yes, that's why I said it's not confirmed yet.
Yeah, but
you can't say, but you can't. Yeah, it's not confirmed yet. But you also can't say that it's, you know, it's you can't approve it, but you can't disprove it either right now. It's not on either way.
The tooth fairy exists either.
What does that mean?
You can't disprove that. The tooth fairy might be real. I said so, therefore it's real. Dude, I'm just saying, particularly on this show, we got to be very careful about, this is my opinion. You can do whatever you want, but man, we got to be very careful about pushing. That is one that I will guarantee you is BS.
I would worry about the word guarantee also, you know.
There's no Pentagon officials caught shredding documents at 3 a.m. I mean, come on.
Honestly, if you don't think that's possible, I don't see how you couldn't think that that's not possible.
I'm just
saying. Not only is it possible though, but I mean, even if it's not, I already said it's not confirmed. You know, I'm willing to put things out there that are not confirmed. I'm not going to say, hey, this is the truth. This is what happened. But I'm willing to put things out there and say, you know, this isn't confirmed, but this is what's being said. You know, if it's not true, if it turns out not to be true, I'm not saying, you know, hey, this definitely happened. But I mean, if it's not believable, that's one thing. If I say, hey, this hasn't been confirmed and it's something totally out there that's not even believable, that's one thing. But if it's not been confirmed and I say it's not confirmed, but it's something that's, you know, I mean, that's something that's very plausible. If you want the truth, they're probably doing the same thing at the FBI. You know, they're shredding documents over there, shredding whatever they can. I mean, and Pete Hegseth was getting ready to fire the generals, actually. That is provable. So, I mean, who knows what happened right now? But like I said, it's not confirmed. I'm just telling people what is out there in terms of something that, even though it's not confirmed, it's something that's plausible and something that's out there. That's all I know.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm just looking at it on Twitter because whenever I see something like that, a story like, woo, that's, you know, pretty crazy. I look into it. There's The people that originally posted it, they just came up with it. There was no sourcing. There's
Well,
no,
see, what usually
how would
happens.
this person know? So anyway, I'm just saying, I mean, is it possible? Of course. And I would love to think that that kind of stuff is happening. And there probably is some of it happening. I'm just saying our audience needs to be very careful. I can't remember, Jack. There was 2 other viral tweets that I saw recently that were, as soon as I saw it, I said, that can't be right. And then I look in the comments, everybody's saying there's no source on this. This is just made up. People are doing this for clicks.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But the only reason I bring this particular one up is for 2 reasons. One, it's extremely plausible, especially it's definitely what's happening at the FBI, at probably all agencies, if you want the truth. But also, when something like this happens, if I can't confirm it, I research to try to confirm it. If I can't confirm it, but if there's also nothing, that's disproving it, like the fact checkers from Newsweek or Reuters or all this other BS that they always try to fact check, if that's not on there either, even though it is a viral tweet, I'm still willing to say, this is a possibility. It's not confirmed, but it's also not been, fact checked to be, oh, this is BS either. So, it's for people to do their own research. I've tried researching it. I couldn't confirm it, but I never saw any Reuters or Newsweek or anything like that disconfirmed it also. So it's just something that's out there that is plausible. I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, brother, that there is paper shredding going on all over D.C., the CIA, the NSA. I mean, there's all kinds of paper shredding.
It's amazing what's going
documents. On. Yeah, in the Southern District of New York, they've probably burned those hard drives. You're probably right. They're probably gone, and it's infuriating, bro.
It really is. So, I mean, that's why, it's just crazy, everything that's going on right now. But see, if I'm them, I would have already done this stuff long before Biden left office. Why would I want to do it now and get caught, with Trump and them? I mean, after Trump won the election, before January 20th, you should have been shredding those documents the whole damn time,
They probably were, though.
There must have been millions of it's unbelievable.
That's the point when I first heard talking about Pam Bondi, and I just in my mind the magnitude of the deep state, the largesse of the bureaucracy, the octopus, if you will, from the Netflix documentary and the books, which actually Conspiracy Corner today is going to go into that story because it relates directly to the Epstein files, but the magnitude of it, Jack, it's been building up since at least 1964 when Kennedy was assassinated. Since at least then, it really started right after World War II. But so, I mean, there are literally probably billions, hundreds of billions of documents themselves, not to mention photos. The NSA, collects everything with their Prism technology. Every phone call, every text, every email, every podcast like this one is stored in an NSA data server in Utah. Everything. So yeah, they're going to be destroying stuff. I don't know, man. We are in for a wild ride, bro. It is crazy times right now.
You are absolutely right about that. Speaking of crazy times, yesterday, Zelensky visited Donald Trump in the Oval Office along with J.D. Vance and some others. And, he was going there, obviously, to beg for more money because Donald Trump doesn't want to give him money. So recently, he actually agreed to a minerals deal. Now, this is the 3rd time that he's agreed to this deal, only to back out every single time. So this final time, which was yesterday, it was in front of the media and everything. He backed out of the minerals deal again. And Trump just was not having it. He was sick of it. J.D. Vance was sick of it. And even, all the other politicians that were there, Mike Johnson, and they were sick of it. I even heard, and it was much to my delight, they finally called out this son of a bitch for not I didn't want to curse, but for not wearing a suit ever. I mean, the guy has $300 billion of our money, but he can't afford a $5 suit from Men's Warehouse.
Well,
so
Lindsey Graham called him out. I mean, my God,
that was shocking. That was very shocking. Yeah. So, but to have him called out on that was also great because it's something that he should have done. So I'm going to play just a small clip of what happened yesterday. And by the way, the clips that are going around on social media and especially on CBS, ABC, NBC, they showed Donald Trump in the negative light because they cut out the first few minutes, where Zelensky is the one that actually engages in all this negative rhetoric because he wants the money without the minerals. He's like, I want the money and I'm not giving you any minerals. That was basically the gist of it. He's the one that started the whole argument. It was nice and peaceful for a while, but this right here is a clip of them, I would say maybe midway through the argument, and it's just something that was very interesting because this happened in the Oval Office, right in front of the media and God himself. So just take a listen, and then, James, I want to get your opinion on this.
Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long.
The best part about that, James, is when I had to laugh out loud there for a second. It was so funny. He's like, if it wasn't for our help, our weapons, and our money, this war would have been over in 2 weeks. And then Zelensky's like, 3 days. I heard it from Putin, 3 days. And then Trump's like, probably less. It was great. It was great. But Zelensky, he is a dirty son of a biscuit. And, he just, all he wants is more money. He sure as hell's not going to go fight on the front lines. They are kidnapping their own citizens, James, and forcing them to the front line. I have videos of them actually kidnapping men. Kidnapping. I'm not talking about like forcing them on a bag over the head, thrown in the freaking bus, and taken to the front lines to die.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. And every day since Trump was elected, Jack, we're seeing history in the making. This was freaking unbelievable. Are you kidding me? Live from the Oval Office, we see the President of the United States and the Vice President actually get into a serious disagreement with an ally and a member, one of the two parties engaged in a horribly bloody war. The president and the vice president are suing for peace. They know that you have to get both sides to the table. Here's what. So Zelensky, and if you listen to the whole thing, and I did, he's talking about he wants security demands. He wants, that's why Macron and Starmer were even over here saying, look, we'll send troops in there to make sure. He wants all the territory that was taken by Putin back, and he's not going to get it. He needs to get over that. Look, the Donbass, which is the area that really triggered this war, because as you know, 17,000 civilians, Russian-speaking civilians, were murdered leading up to the invasion. The people in the Donbass, which are two, it's Donetsk and Luhansk, I can't pronounce the other one.
Sounds like you're saying Don Boss. When you say that, it sounds like Donald Trump, Don the Boss, Boss. That's what it sounds like.
Right. So the Donbass, both of these regions, and Crimea, by the way, had referendums, and they voted 98% to leave Ukraine years before this war started. All Putin said is, I don't want Ukraine to join NATO. That is a non-starter. He was guaranteed back by James Baker under the Reagan administration that NATO would not move towards the east. 18 countries later, all moving eastward from Romania and former Czechoslovakia, Hungary, et cetera, Poland, all joined NATO. And the last country between Russia and the West is Ukraine. And then Putin's like, look, it would be like Russians or the Chinese, Jack, just what happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis. It would be like the Chinese going into Guadalajara which is 80 miles from the southern border, and putting a major army base with nuclear weapons pointed at our border. Do you think we would allow that? Of course we wouldn't.
Not. No,
Yeah,
and that
so
you're right.
Yeah, call me a Putin apologist. I know the frickin' history. And the history says that the aggressor was the West. It was NATO is the West. And thank God for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump trying to end this war. And like you said, they're kidnapping people. The bloodshed needs to stop, Jack.
It does need to stop, and it's been horrible. And it is all because I could end this war tomorrow. I could end it tomorrow by telling Putin and telling Ukraine. I'm like, Ukraine, you're not joining NATO, and Putin, they're not going to join NATO. Now sign on the dotted line. That would end the war tomorrow. The only reason Putin does not want this the only thing that started this whole war really, and the main issue is them joining NATO. They don't want nuclear weapons, right next to their border, no more than we wanted, Russia, the Soviet Union, to have nuclear weapons 90 miles from Florida. They could have hit us anywhere in the country back then. It was the huge thing. I mean, if you were alive back then, you would have been scared out of your mind. They were doing nuclear missile drills in schools where you had to get up under the desk and kiss your ass goodbye. I mean, that's what was happening back then. People don't seem to understand how serious it was. I mean, it was very close to nuclear war, and Russia doesn't want to go through that, and I do not blame them. If I'm Trump, I'm saying, look, you're not getting any more money. You're not getting anything. So you can either, your whole country can either die and then you can be hung and tarred and feathered in the streets, or you can sign that you're not going to join NATO and I can end this war tomorrow. But those are your only two options: either dying by being tarred and feathered in the streets, maybe have your head stuck on a pole, or, you just don't join NATO. I mean, it's that easy, James.
Yeah, totally. And, the pushback has already started. Number one, Zelensky's on an apology tour. I don't know if you've seen that. Go check his Twitter page. Oh, my God. Yeah. I'm so grateful to the President of the United States, blah, 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 blah. And then the usual suspects on the left.
UK, Germany.
They're all
like, hey, we'll give him money, we'll help him, yeah. Well, where were they before the U.S. pulled out, huh? Right. Everybody in the entire globe expects the U.S. to give up all of our money to help everybody else, and that's what we've been doing, because before Trump, before Doge, that they would just rob us blind. They would rob us blind, and that's what shocks me about, the Democrats. These Democrats, it's funny because I was going to do some, you might be a Democrat style Jeff Foxworthy jokes, but rather than do that, I wanted to say, just a couple of things of how ironic these things are. Like, Democrats, if you're a Democrat, you might actually go out and protest theft with the people that are stealing from you. You go out and you protest theft with the people that are stealing from you. You might be for illegal immigration, but you want to deport Elon Musk. I mean, these are the kind of, thought processes that Democrats have, and that's why it's so easy to identify a Democrat, but it's also so shocking at how easily they are manipulated, and that's why we're in the situation we're in.
I got one for you, Jack. You say follow the science, the same guy that says a man can be a woman.
There you go. Yeah, it's unbelievable. If you think kindergartners should have condom vending machines, you might be a Democrat. It's shocking the things that they are willing to do and put up, not even just put up with, but gleefully support just because they're told to.
Oops, I hit the mute button. Sorry. Let's say, it's important to say too, it's not just the Democrats.
No, it's definitely not. No.
Yeah, I would say, and we talked about this the last show, that, my congressman and friend Eric Burleson's part of the Freedom Caucus, and the Freedom Caucus only represents about 80 congressmen out of, over like around 200. So the other 120, they're rhinos. I mean, some of the stuff coming out of the Senate. Now, Trump has handled them masterfully. I mean, apparently what I heard in the confirmations, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but J.D. Vance was the point man on pushing Tulsi, Cash, and RFK through the Senate confirmation process. So that guy, big shout. It's been so long since we had a vice president that was worth anything. I mean, think of some of the vice presidents we've had. I mean, I hate the man and I loathe him, but probably the most effective vice president since J.D. Vance was George Bush Sr. under Ronald Reagan. Most vice presidents Well, who was Bill Clinton's? Do you even remember?
Bill Clinton's,
Walter
wasn't it
Mondale.
like, was it Quayle
Mondale.
or something? Oh no, I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah,
Oh,
that's crazy, isn't it?
Quayle. Yeah, Quayle was who was he? He was the running mate. He wasn't.
Hubert Humphrey wasn't
George
bad.
Bush. George Bush.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the vice presidents are usually this office that means nothing. J.D. Vance, dude, he is a force to be reckoned.
He's setting himself up to be the candidate for 2028, I think, if he continues the way he's going.
Yep, 48, JD 48, baby.
So it's just crazy, a lot of the things that are going on. And then, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard about the NSA and CIA sex chat rooms that they were doing, and how they created this culture to the point where, they were actually, you're talking about the CIA and NSA and other intelligence groups talking on this chat room about, piss fetishes and about,
let me just interject because I want to make sure we get this. It was an NSA.
Yeah, but the CIA were also, not all of them, but some of them were on there. I saw this printout that was unbelievable, and it was the NSA sex chat room. It was their server and their chat room, but there were some, low level and actually some mid tier CIA officials on there as well.
Right,
but it was mostly NSA.
Right.
But they were talking about the things that you'd expect to hear liberals talk about behind closed doors. Piss fetishes. I'm talking sick stuff like now they didn't go outright and say anything illegal like doing stuff with children, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they did, person to person, say that kind of stuff. These are sick individuals, and they're using your taxpayer money to sit there and discuss all these fetishes like, I want to have sex with a woman with a penis, things like that. And it gets really grotesque. If anybody that hasn't checked it out, if anybody wants to see some really sick shit that your tax money was paid for, go ahead and go on, X and look up the NSA sex chat rooms, because that was mind-blowing.
baby. Yeah,
shocking.
You want some real? No, and you're absolutely right. But here, I think this is an important point. The main gist of this chat room was all under the banner of LGBT, right? Yeah. So here's what we did as a society. And this was all planned. This was the Marxist, you and I try and dive into the roots of things. This is a Marxist conspiracy. First, we make gay marriage okay under the law, under the law in the United States, the Supreme Court ruled on it that a man can marry men. Okay, that's fine. And we all said, yeah, I got nothing against gay people. I know you feel that way. I feel that way. What happens, Jack, when you give these groups an inch, they take a mile. It's the proverbial meme. And so what they've done now is they take all of this dirt, this grotesque fetish, just the dirtiest pornography kind of things you can even imagine. I think you mentioned piss fetish. There's the number 2 fetish as well. Diaper fetishes, talking about changing adult. I don't even want to go into it. It's just disgusting and gross. There's no need for it anywhere, particularly on a government website. This was on our dime, Jack. The taxpayers paid for that server. They were getting paid by the U.S. taxpayer while they're discussing this stuff. And look, I don't want any gay person to get hurt. I would never promote violence against anyone. Let's keep sex where it needs to be in the private sector. And I mean all kinds of sex, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever. It's not to be in schools. It's not to be in chat rooms. This whole idea that everything should be open and free is what has led to the cultural and moral destruction of our country.
And you're absolutely right. And the thing is, what bothers me more than anything is that these are the people that are responsible for your safety. These are the people that are responsible for gathering intelligence. You're talking about people with severe mental illness. And I'm talking about because of the whole transgender thing. Here's just some of the things that they were talking about. And if you want, you can turn the volume down for a second if it's, it's going to be, a little graphic. But okay, so getting my butthole zapped by a laser. That's one of the things they were talking about. Okay, and one person said, medical science, this is a Navy Intel employee. Medical science is going to give me tits one way or the other. So it's not just, and they have other ones where they were talking about male to female transgender surgery, which involves removing the penis and turning it into an artificial vagina. And then another guy saying, well, I want to try you out after you get that done. And we're talking NSA, we're talking Navy intelligence, there's DIA officials. It was an NSA server, but there was everybody on there talking about this, and it's actually a lot more in depth than I thought it was. Christopher Rufo, the one that actually broke this story about these things happening, posted a lot of things on his site about these, and it is everybody from Navy, Intel, it's any kind of person you could think of in the intelligence community, whether you're talking about Pentagon, Navy, Army, you're talking about CIA, DIA, NSA. It is every single intelligence agency is represented in these absolutely disgusting things. And the worst part about it is these are the people that are charged with our safety, James. Gathering intelligence and knowing what to do with that intelligence and disseminating that intelligence is the most important thing in America, because that is what saves lives. And if you've got these people with mental illnesses, you know what's happening, James? These people are talking about committing treason. I'm sure you heard about where the CIA officials that were being fired by Trump are talking about selling what they know to foreign intelligence agents.
Yeah.
They were actually talking. This was an article in like the Post and the Times. They're talking about selling the secrets they know to intelligence agents. And what bothers me is firings seem to be the only thing we're doing to hold these people accountable. I would have immediately they'd have been in Guantanamo Bay right now, and then they'd know what a cock meat sandwich is. If you've ever seen Harold and Kumar. Yeah, Harold and Kumar go to Guantanamo Bay.
That's brutal, brother. No, I totally agree. And it relates totally back to our first story on the Epstein Files. Look, we are at war with the Leviathan. This is literally a David versus Goliath. Yes, Trump is the sling that holds the rock that kills Goliath, right? But still, we are outmatched with manpower. You know how Sean Hannity used to always say, like, the FBI is full of brave men and women, and I just love the FBI. It's only a few corrupt leaders. No, Sean, he was dead wrong on that, because over the last 20 years, the FBI, the NSA, all of the intelligence, the military, they remember under Obama when there was a big story how he fired hundreds of flag officers. That's colonels and generals and above, right? He fired hundreds. Well, who were they replaced with? There's been this dedicated, planned takeover of all of our sensitive bureaucracies, the NSA, the CIA, the DNI, and the military. So this has been going on forever. So the FBI now, under Kash Patel, remember, he said, I would, if I was head of the FBI, I would close the Washington, D.C. office and reopen it as a museum. And I don't think he was exaggerating. He knows. They know the level of what they're up against. Yes, Tulsi said that those people in the sex chat rooms, to get back to our story, are going to be fired. But there's a lot more to come. There's so much, Jack. These investigations are going to take time. There are going to be people charged. I listened to a long interview today with General Michael Flynn, and specifically he was talking about James Comey. Comey's going down. And Flynn was talking directly to the camera, to James Comey, and said, you wait. Because you think about what Comey did. You know how he bragged about a new administration? We probably couldn't have gotten away with it if it was an administration that had their footing already. So I sent 2 agents in there to interview Flynn. And when he recounted the phone call he had with his Russian counterpart, he maybe got like a sentence wrong. So they charged him with perjury. Immediately. He had no idea he was being interviewed. It was a total setup. That is treasonous. James Comey directed his agents, and we have it on tape. He bragged about it, to try and take down a sitting president. These are treasonous acts. We go into the both impeachments and Adam Schiff. The web of the darkness and destruction is so deep, Jack. This is not going to end up playing out for at least 10 years. That's my opinion. It's going to take that long. I think people will be tried. I think people will be sent to prison. But, dude, it's just not going to happen overnight, because we have to make sure we have airtight evidence against these people. Now, there's people right now being interviewed from the FBI, from the NSA, from the CIA, whistleblowers that are being interviewed. Once they have that evidence, they call in the higher up and say, Mr. Comey, this whistleblower says you did this. Do you deny this? Or do you, and he's going to lawyer up, but we'll have the evidence. It's just going to take time. I want everyone to we got to give them a little grace period. It's only been 40 days, something like that.
Well, people don't understand just how deep it goes. I mean, it is so ingrained because they were able to weed out the good people and bring in the bad. And how they did that was, it's actually in Christopher Rufo's article also. He talks about how they created a culture where, you know, if you were against this at any point, you were deemed a racist, you were ostracized, and then you were eventually fired. They brought in someone that was sympathetic to the cause. And that is how they have gotten, that's how the NSA was taken over, the CIA, that's how the media was taken over. All of these things were taken over based on, you know, buzzwords, racist, transphobic. And then the thing is, if someone called me racist or transphobic by myself, that would not bother me. I don't care what somebody says. But when your boss cares, you know, when this person cares, when all of a sudden you got 20 people that either care or pretending like they care because they want to, you know, be a part of something, then you're fired. They bring in somebody that's, you know, that's willing to get to conform to the cause. And that is exactly how over the last 20 years, all of these agencies, including the media, have been taken over. And that is why right now it is so deeply entrenched. Like, you see these people that are holding back files or that are doing this or doing that, undermining the presidency. One, actually, there's a couple of reasons. One is because they believe, you know, that they know better. They believe they're the ones that run the country and should be able to do whatever they want. Two, a lot of them can't be fired because of certain protocols that make it almost impossible to fire certain civil service employees. But then also, three, it's to the point now where it's so it's like an echo chamber in there. They say, okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'll do it, because they're all together in the same horrible cause now. So they get, you know, backup, feedback, you know, always that kind of furthers their own. It's confirmation bias is what it is. You know, they go to people that confirm what they already think. You know, they're not going to go to people that are going to tell them opposite opinions. So all that does is embolden them even more. And then when they see investigations and firings but no prosecutions, that emboldens them even more. Hey, you know, if this happens, you know, I can just, you know, I'll be fired, sure, but I'm saving the country, doing this and this and this, going against the president. So I'm going to, even if I'm fired, I can get a job in the private sector, or, you know, my boss will bring me back under a different, you know, different title. You know,
Yeah.
That's why they all stick together in this horrible, horrible web, and it's going to take some time to weed them out. But I can promise you that if you start the prosecutions, I mean, go for slam dunk prosecutions right now, just simple obstruction of justice prosecutions. If you can go for just a few, hell, even if you can't get convictions, just arrest the sons of bitches, and I can promise you a lot of them will scatter.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, that's a really great segue into this week's Conspiracy Corner, Jack, because what I'm going to tell you about, and I know many of our audience know something about this, but today I'm going to talk about PROMIS, PROMIS, which stands for the acronym of Prosecutors Management Information System. So this was a system in the 70s was developed by NSA, an analyst named Bill Hamilton. It was originally designed for the DOJ to be able to help track criminal cases and manage criminal records, etc. But PROMIS became infamous due to allegations that were proven that the software was covertly modified, and it was distributed to intelligence agencies like the CIA and the Mossad and the MI6 in the UK. It was also sold to adversaries, people running Al-Qaeda. So the Inslaw affair accused the DOJ they stole PROMIS from the developer. They stole it, and they used it to track everyday citizens. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen the Netflix documentary.
I was trying to think of where the hell I saw
the
that.
Octopus.
Yes, the octopus.
That's what
Yes,
this story is about. Danny Casolaro was the investigative journalist who
very
was
good documentary.
Yeah, because we've been talking all this show, Jack, we've been talking about the octopus. It's called that because it has tentacles everywhere, and it's so deep and far reaching. And just think about it. Every day under the last 15 administrations, every day a new tentacle was grown and it reached out and it affected some part of society. But the PROMIS software in the 70s really what started a lot of this deep state surveillance. So, you know, Casolaro, as you probably remember from the film, committed suicide with like 8 cuts to each wrist. There was blood everywhere. His notes and files, he committed suicide in a hotel. He had told his friends, I'm close to cracking this
Yeah,
wide.
this is that journalist that was like
Yes.
this close to cracking
Yes.
the whole story.
And all of his notes and files disappeared in the hotel room. The cop said, oh, there was nothing in there. So Casolaro believed that Promise was more than just stolen software. It was a tool that connected a vast conspiracy of U.S. intelligence, CIA, NSA, international financial schemes like the BCCI banking scandal, arms, drug trafficking, and deep state actors orchestrating global surveillance of every citizen. With this software, they could literally surveil anybody. And some of the key findings, and I'll wrap this up, Casolaro's research confirmed that DOJ stole Promise from Inslaw, the company that created it. The software was modified to allow a backdoor. So they'd sell it to, say, France's intelligence agency. It had a backdoor so that the people that sold it, the DOJ or Intel, could go in and look at every file in the French. So then that's another Blackwell tool. Financial espionage. It tracked every global banking transaction, military and diplomatic surveillance. It surveilled every diplomat. Organized crime, the mafia used Promise to do all kinds of nefarious activities. Listen to one of the main people that was uncovered to be behind the Promise, both the theft of Promise and the modifications of Promise, and then the reselling to allow this backdoor in all of these different places across the world. Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell was the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's partner, where we started this show. Robert Maxwell was a British media mogul, but he worked for Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, and he allegedly helped sell Promise to foreign governments. Oliver North, the whole Iran-Contra scandal was tied into Promise. You know, everyone says, oh, Ronald Reagan was this great president. Well, meanwhile, behind his back, there was some very dark and nefarious things going on under Reagan. Michael Risconsciuto was a tech expert who claimed that he was the one who was ordered to modify Promise, creating the backdoor. Guess what? The instant this came out, he was arrested on drug charges, which
Yes,
he'd
he
never
was.
been known to use drugs. They threw him in jail. So anyway, this was our conspiracy corner because it ties in. You see how this history ties into everything that's going on today. Look, the NSA, CIA, Promise was created in the 70s. The versions that they have in 2025, can you imagine the technology they have with AI now? They can literally type in your name, Jack, and they know everything about you. Pull up any text you sent, any conversation, say between you and I, any nighttime activities in your bedroom with you and your fiance. I mean, it's ridiculous. They have everything on everybody. That's why this is it's going to be so hard to penetrate this, Jack.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's just no way. It is going to be extremely hard. And people don't seem to realize that although Donald Trump is the president and he got his confirmations in, like Kash Patel with the FBI, the new CIA director, and, Pam Bondi with the DOJ, the real people that run the country are the unelected bureaucrats. They're the ones that shape policy. They're the ones that actually put out the policies, write the policies, and they're the ones that stick together based on the certain positions that they're in. So it is very difficult. See, Donald Trump can give a lawful order, but that doesn't mean that they're going to follow it. And if they don't follow it, what's going to happen to them? Usually nothing, because they have, usually they have the implied immunity kind of thing. They have all kinds of different protections that are built into these things. Yeah. So it's almost impossible to get the deep state out of there. So it is going to happen a little at a time. But then when you also have deep state judges that block these orders, block the mass firings, block the birthright sedition, block whatever. Yeah, it's almost, and they'll even block prosecutions or dismiss charges. So it is almost impossible, short of getting the military and actually invading your own country. I don't know what could be done to actually get rid of it all.
You hit the word I was thinking in my mind while you were talking was military tribunal. I don't know how else we can go about this, because you're absolutely right. Look, I just laid out when this mass surveillance really started in the 70s under Promise. Every judge, they have the dirt on every judge, every prosecutor, every defense lawyer. that some guy may be assigned. They have it on everybody. The system's completely co-opted. It's completely corrupt. It's completely dark. And I don't know outside, Jack, we literally could see, and I'm going to make this prediction, that sometime within this administration, sometime in the next 4 years, you could see the calling of military tribunals, because they can lay out the evidence. Look, all of these judges are compromised. The prosecutors are compromised. We cannot get justice within the justice system. And we know that. Look what they did to Trump. We know there's no justice in the justice system. I don't know much about military tribunals. I'm going to look into it, but it may be the only answer. Jack, what do you think?
No, you're right. I do believe it will be the only answer, because there's really not much else you can do when it's so deeply entrenched that, you can't go and get these things done. Because before we wrap, I just want to say that fear is 10 times stronger than love. Okay, if you've got somebody that absolutely loves you, you're Donald Trump, and this person, can help eradicate the deep state, right? This judge, let's say it's a judge, absolutely loves Donald Trump, loves his policies, right? Would do anything for Donald Trump. He would help him, with his agenda. But then, a CIA official comes in and says, hey, we've got, video evidence of you raping this little girl. Do you think he's going to help with love, or is he going to go out of fear? Fear is way stronger. Yeah, fear is way stronger than love. That's why when you can blackmail people, you can easily control them and everything else everything else. And that's why I would say 99% of the people on Earth have something they can be blackmailed for.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, we've got this to trust. We've got God, because honestly, this is way beyond any kind of judicial thing. This is good versus evil. It really comes down to that, Jack. And we've done some deep dives on a future Conspiracy Corner. I'm gonna go over some satanic child sexual abuse and murder and rape. It's so dark. It's way, we talked a little about the NSA chat. It's so much darker than that, Jack. And there's names that are well known in the public that have been involved in some of the most nefarious, dark things that you can't even wrap your head around. And we're on the verge of exposing it. Light will win. God will win in the end. That's my belief. And you and I just need to keep doing what we're doing, brother. It's Secret America. I'm James Clary. He's Jack Danger, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Secret America with Jack Danger and James Clary.